Let your eyes grow heavy now. Let the quiet hush of old stone and the wind off the Bosphorus wrap around you like a faded imperial cloak. Tonight, we begin our journey in a city that once dreamed in gold. Byzantium, Constantinople, the queen of cities, a place where empires whispered, bells rang out over domes, and the end, like so many endings, began not with thunder, but with a soft, crumbling dot. It is the year 1452, late autumn. The leaves in the imperial gardens fall without much ceremony, fluttering onto mosaics that haven't seen an emperor in weeks. The city, poised between worlds, still sparkles in the moonlight, but that sparkle is cracked glass, now not polished silver. Constantinople, a city once bursting with scholars, monks, silk merchants, and crusader gossip, is quiet. Not entirely still, of course. Even in decline, a city this grand has echoes of its former rhythm. You might hear the lonely chant of a monk, somewhere in a shadowy corridor, or the shuffle of a tired guard walking the Theodosian walls. But mostly, there is waiting. The kind that creeps into bones and timbers. Waiting, as if even the stones of the Hagia Sophia are holding their breath. Let's drift through the city like a dream, not quite seen, not quite touched. Our first stop, the Blosherny Palace. Once, this was where emperors plotted wars and threw banquets under ceilings of gold. Now, Emperor Constantine XI Palaiologos walks its halls more like a ghost than a ruler. A thoughtful man, stoic and not entirely comfortable in his crown. He did not inherit an empire. He inherited its shadow. His Byzantine Empire, if one can still call it that, is now mostly just this city. A few surrounding farms, maybe a monastery or two out east that forgot to check their maps. Byzantium? For centuries, the eastern spine of Rome is crumbling. And across the water, something enormous is stirring. But not tonight. Tonight, we leave worry to the nightbirds. Let's walk with the softest of footsteps to the city walls, the mighty triple walls of Theodosius. Built 1,000 years before this night, they were the pride of the empire, the reason this city held against 1,000 sieges. Brick and stone stacked like a prayer, wide enough for chariots, tall enough to block out hope or bring it. And yet, listen, do you hear it? That faint rhythm in the dark, the sound of ships being built on the other side of the Bosphorus. Mehmet, the Ottoman Sultan, is not asleep. He is dreaming, yes, but not like us. He dreams of conquest of a second Rome under his heel, of Constantinople, his not in ashes, no, but gleaming, Islamic, reborn, back in our quiet city. Though, there is a different kind of dreaming. There is Lacus, the candlemaker, whose little shop near the Forum of Constantine still smells of honey wax and old leather. He hasn't had much business lately. Too few pilgrims, too many fears, but he still lights a taper every morning before dawn. He whispers a prayer to St. John, then counts the coins in his drawer. They never change. But still, the ritual helps. His neighbor Magda is a widow who once embroidered robes for the imperial court. Now she stitches simple cloth for local priests, the old red and gold threads, long gone. But her hands remember the weight of empire, even if her bones do not. They, like most of the city, do not know exactly when the end will come, only that it will. It clings to the air like damp fog. There are rumors, of course, that Sultan Mehmet has ordered a massive cannon, a monstrous bombard that could shatter walls older than Charlemagne, that Genoese mercenaries are being paid in silver and fear, that angels have been seen in the Hagia Sophia, weeping. But tonight, Constantinople sleeps. Perhaps not deeply, but it does sleep. Let's slip now to the monasteries, on the third hill of the city. Tucked between faded gardens and cracked columns is the monastery of the Pantocrator. In better times, it housed 100 monks. Now, perhaps, 30 remain. They are older, mostly. Their chants are slower, sadder. Still beautiful, but more like sighs than songs. Brother Andronikos tends the herbs in the courtyard by moonlight, whispering to his rosemary and thyme, as if they might whisper back. He has seen things. Andronikos, not visions, not madness, but memory. He remembers when the city was still, loud with merchants and mosaics, still sparkled without dust. He remembers when Latin was spoken here, then hated, then forgotten again. He remembers the time of the Crusaders, and he does not speak of it kindly. The monks, for all their prayers and silences, are not immune to the creeping knowledge. Some still believe angels will descend to protect the city. Some do not. Now let us go further still. Past the aqueduct, past the buried cisterns that lie beneath the earth like dreaming giants. Here, under the city, is another world, a hidden one, the Basilica Cistern, once a reservoir, now a quiet lake with columns rising like drowned cathedrals. No footsteps echo here, only dripping. Even the rats tread lightly. It is said that those who truly listen down here can hear the city breathe. We rise again. The air grows cooler. Somewhere, a dog barks. Another answers. Even in 1452, Constantinople has its strays lean, clever things who know when to stay silent. There are cats, too, always cats, sacred in their own sly way. They pass through arches and alleys, like little emperors, utterly unimpressed with both humans and history, and in the Hagia Sophia, the great church turned cathedral turned legend. Candles burn low. The mosaics of Christ's Pantocrator and the Virgin Mother watch from the ceilings, their golden eyes dimmed by time and soot. A priest walks alone among the shadows. He hums a hymn that only a few now remember. His voice rises up into the dome, where it fades among the wings of angels made of stone. Outside, the moon sits on the water like a silver coin. Ships drift in the distance, quiet for now. But let us not go there yet. Let us stay in this moment, this strange, suspended moment, where a city on the brink of death still dreams like a queen. Tomorrow there may be drums, there may be smoke, but tonight, there is only this, a city that was once Rome's crown, a man who wears the name Constantine like a prophecy, and walls that remember what it was to be eternal. As your eyes grow heavier, think of those walking these ancient streets tonight. Not heroes, not villains, but people like you. They carry bread, they carry rosaries, they carry rumors. They do not know what is coming, not truly. But they feel it, as you feel sleep now, approaching on soft feet. Rest, then. Let the shadows of Byzantium wrap around you. Let the wind from the Bosphorus carry you to silence. The story will continue when next we return. The ships will draw closer, the drums will grow louder, and Constantinople will find itself standing on the edge of legend. But not tonight. Tonight we sleep in, the city of ghosts. Close your eyes again and breathe deep. Let the hush of twilight return to you like a forgotten prayer. Let the weight of history rest not on your shoulders, but as a blanket soft, faded, warm from centuries of memory. The domes of Constantinople still curve against the sky like silver shields, and its 1,000 alleyways still twist like thoughts half remembered. But the breeze is shifting now, faint, cautious. It carries something, drums, not near, not yet, but out there across the Bosphorus. In the east, rhythm has begun. Let us cross the water now, slowly, like the mist does in the blue before dawn. Past fishing boats and crumbling piers, past gulls that watch from battered wooden posts, until we reach the rising campfires on the other shore. This is not a sleepy city of ghosts. This is movement, noise, determination. This is the camp of the young Sultan, Mehmed II. He is 19, not the kind of 19 that lounges and wonders. He is the kind that commands. He was born with stars in his blood and fire in his lungs. His eyes sharp, dark, unblinking, are fixed on one thing only, the glittering silhouette of Constantinople across the water. He does not see a city. He sees a legacy. He stands at the edge of his camp in a thick wool cloak, flanked by guards, in scale armor, gazing toward the city that has haunted empires for 1,000 years. Constantinople, the eastern prize, the gate between worlds, the pearl, the wound, the unclaimed inheritance of Islam and ambition. He is not dreaming like a poet. He is dreaming like a conqueror. The wind shifts again, brushing through the tents, flapping banners with the crescent and the star. Hundreds, thousands of soldiers stir in the half-light. Some still sleep. Others sit beside fire pits, sharpening blades, rubbing oil into armor, or whispering stories from distant villages. Albanian voices, Anatolian, Arabic, even a few from the Balkans. This army is not a single people. It is a tide drawn from every shore the Ottoman Empire touches. But now, let your steps slow. We are not here to wake them. We walk silently, ghost-like, past the cannon foundries, on the banks of the Golden Horn. Ah, yes, the cannon, the great bronze serpent of a weapon, is nearly complete. Its name is not spoken lightly, Basilica. The Hungarian engineer, Orban, sleeps nearby, snoring like a forge himself, his hands still stained with ash and oil. His cannon, once a fantasy, now takes shape like a creature from some ancient myth, 28 feet long, capable of hurling a stone the weight of a bull across the fields of war. It is not quite finished, but soon, very soon, they will roll it on greased wheels. They will require 60 oxen to move it, and when it fires, even the sky will listen. But the night here, in the Ottoman camp, is not all ambition and iron. There is music too. Somewhere near the rear tents, a flute weaves a lonely tune into the dark. An old melody, from the mountains perhaps. No battle. March, just memory set to breath and wood. A soldier carves a chess piece by firelight. Another writes a letter to a brother he may not see again. There is laughter, low and rough, as coffee brews in blackened pots. Even the edges of empire have their quiet moments. Let us drift now, like ash from the forges, back across the BOSPHORUS. Return, slowly, to the Queen of Cities. But notice something different as you arrive. A quiet unease. A bell rings, not the full-bodied bell of celebration, but a shallow, anxious peal. A summons, not urgent yet. Not panic, just tension, like the pull of string just before it snaps. In the old Latin quarter, the few Genoese merchants, still left in the city, lock up their storehouses with trembling hands. They have heard rumors, of course. The Turkish fleet grows, the army swells. And now, the Sultan is building ships on the land. Yes, ships on land, up the coast. Near the Genoese-held port of Galata, Sultan Mehmed is preparing something strange, an overland bypass. If the Byzantines close the mouth of the Golden Horn, with their great chain, as they have before, he will drag his ships across greased planks and rolling logs, over the hill, and into the inlet. He has done the math. He does not bluff. Let us not think about that just yet. Back inside Constantinople, within the labyrinth of frescoed halls and sunlit courtyards, the Emperor, Constantine XI, meets with his advisors. There is a flicker of firelight, in their eyes, but no clear answers. The walls of the city are still strong, old, weathered, but thick. The people are not so many. Perhaps 50,000 remain inside the walls, a fraction of what once bustled here. The Venetians have sent some help. Genoa too, reluctantly, nervously. Mercenaries from across Europe have arrived. Catalans, Germans, Italians, not for love of Byzantium, but for coin, glory, or perhaps the allure of fighting for a city steeped in legend. Giustiniani, Longo, a Genoese noble with a warrior's frame and a seasoned scowl, has arrived with 700 men. He pledges to defend the land walls. Constantine, she clutches his hand with both of his own, grateful not for the number, but for the fact that someone has come. The mood in the imperial court is thin, like broth made from bones long since boiled. They speak Latin, they speak Greek, sometimes both in the same breath, but the silence between words is thickest. Outside, the priests chant louder now, though the pews are fewer. The Hagia Sophia echoes, not with sermons, but with the shuffle of desperate prayer. Latin Christians and Orthodox believers pray side by side, awkwardly, hesitantly. The schism is not forgotten. But the fear is greater than theology now. In the taverns, few dare to laugh. Bread grows thinner. Wine stretches further. But still, life flickers on. Children play among the ruins of old forums. A street performer juggles lemons outside the broken gate. An old woman feeds pigeons, as she has for years, speaking to them like old friends. And the cats, oh, the cats remain indifferent. They are the truest Byzantines, proud, unbothered, eternal now. Let us rise again just a little. Float above the city rooftops. Gaze down at the mosaic of roofs and domes. The shining water beyond. The flickering torches. The silhouettes of men patrolling the walls. The windows glowing with candles, small and warm like stars. Fall into earth, then look outward. Toward the dark fields beyond the walls. Their fires bloom. Ottoman camps like constellations across the hills. And there, in the distance, a glimmer of the great cannon's frame under tarps and scaffolding. It waits. The men wait. The Sultan waits. But you sleep. For now, there is still breath. In the stones. Still incense in the churches. Still bread to be broken. Wine to be poured. Songs to be sung in low voices before sleep. Let it hold you. Let the walls hold you. The siege has not yet begun. The night is long still. Let dreams take you gently. Between empire and end. Between marble and fire. Between the breath before battle. We are not finished yet. The story will return and end. Next, we will walk the final days before the siege. When the city's pulse begins to race. When the sky changes color. When the very earth seems to sense the coming thunder. But not tonight. Tonight, Constantinople still breathes. Sleep, in the shadow of domes. Sleep, while the stars still look down. The bells have not yet rung in alarm. They toll sometimes for mass, sometimes for weddings, and sometimes simply because bells are what cities cling to when language fails. But they have not rung yet in panic. And so, our story walks on. It is early March, 1453. Cold, still, like a breath held between two sentences. Constantinople awakens each morning a little slower than the last, as if it knows the season is changing not just in weather, but in fate. The frost is still light on the rooftops when Lakas, the candlemaker, opens his shop. He lights 3 wicks today, one for the Virgin, one for the Emperor, and one for his mother. Long dead but remembered in the smell of beeswax and rose oil. He has fewer customers now. Not because people don't need candles, they do, more than ever, but because coin is vanishing. The merchants are uneasy. The ships that still arrive from Genoa or Venice carry more worry than wheat. Lucas still makes his candles, each poured by hand, each wick trimmed with care. It is not about selling anymore. It is about remembering that he is alive. Magda, the embroiderer, next door, works by window light, stitching crosses in red thread on the sleeves of altar garments. No one asked her to. But the bishops accept them, with solemn nods and hollow smiles. She knows they will be worn for funerals. She sews anyway, and all around them, the city, listens not with ears, but with streets, with walls, with the great domes that seem to tilt just slightly more toward the horizon each night in the hippodrome. The old chariot arena, where emperors once paraded in golden armor, weeds have grown between the stones. Grass splits the marble. Cats perch on the fallen statues of heroes no one names anymore. But children still play here. 3 of them now chase each other through the columns, their laughter echoing like water in a cracked cistern. One boy carries a stick like a sword. Another wears a rusty old helmet, far too large for his head. A little girl, younger, commands them both with imperious dignity. "I am Theodora," she declares, "and you will obey." They bow and giggle. Somewhere behind a crumbling arch, their grandmother watches with a tired smile. She remembers stories of Theodora, wife of Justinian, who once ruled not just a city, but a world. The children know her name, but not the hunger she knew. Not yet. On the sea walls, patrols pass quietly. They do not shout. They do not laugh. They walk and watch, and wonder how many days are left before the sky turns black with arrows or fire. Their armor is mismatched, their boots worn, but their eyes are clear. These are not soldiers by profession, most of them farmers, fishermen, merchants, priests, and yet they stand. Because someone must. Now drift higher, past the great chain stretched across the mouth of the Golden Horn. It still lies like a sleeping serpent, meant to block Ottoman ships from entering the inner harbor. It has worked before. It might work again. But further up the hills of Galata, the Sultan's men now prepare their astonishing feat. The logs are greased. The oxen are yoked, The wooden sledges are fitted beneath the hulls of ships, and soon, very soon, Mem's navy will walk on land. It sounds impossible, but so did many things. Once a city ruled by Christians for 1,000 years, a cannon longer than a hall, ships moving through forests, faith shared between East and West, and now, each of those impossibilities inches closer to real. Let us not rush. Let us linger in the great church of the holy apostles, the tombs of emperors. Lie quiet. Justinian rests here. Constantine, the first two. Their names carved in stone, their dreams buried under marble. No one comes to visit now, not because of fear, but because the living have little time for the dead. Not when they are trying not to join them. Priests light incense. The smell of frankincense wraps around pillars like a sigh. An acolyte slips on wet tiles and whispers a prayer to Saint Basil. Another scrubs the altar with wine and salt, whispering old rites in Greek and Latin alike. The clergy do not know what the coming weeks will bring. Some believe angels will descend and save the city. Others fear judgment. Most simply carry on, because carrying on, in the end, is often the bravest thing we do. Outside the church, near the Forum of Theodosius, Emperor Constantine XI himself rides slowly through the streets on horseback. No fanfare, no trumpet, just leather reins, hooves on cobblestone, and the low murmurs of those who still call him Basileus. He wears armor now, not robes. Steel, not silk, not because of show, but because it's easier that way to be ready. He does not know how long they will last, but he will die with the city if it comes to that. He made that vow already. He rides past old mosaics, past dry fountains, past a widow who crosses herself 3 times as he passes. He does not wave, he only nods, and continues on. The moon rises. Now, over the Bosphorus, full pale. Watching it bathes the city in light, soft enough to forget the fear. For a moment, Constantinople looks almost untouched. Still a jewel. Still eternal, in the old libraries, dusty but standing. A monk named Hierotheos copies pages from Aristotle by candlelight. No one has asked him to. There are no students left in the academy, no patrons, no debates. But he copies still. The candle flickers, ink smudges. He yawns, then resumes. Because somewhere, someday, someone might read these words, and that possibility is enough. Back across the water, the Ottoman camp hums. Mehmed, the conqueror, walks among his engineers. The cannon is ready. The troops march in drills by torchlight. He looks not to the city, but to the stars. He believes this is destiny. Not war, not destruction. A hand of history guiding him forward. He speaks to his generals in Turkish, in Arabic, in Persian. It matters not the tongue. The meaning is the same. Take the city, leave the name. And then he returns to his tent, where maps stretch like skin across the floor. He studies them not as puzzles but promises. Now return gently to the walls. The Theodosian walls, triple-layered, century-old, pocked from past battles, and yet still standing. Men sleep in towers. Watchmen pace with lanterns. A soldier cradles a broken arm in silence. Another sharpens a blade that has already seen too much. And in a hidden garden near the monastery of Cora, an old nun waters her lilies, though frost threatens them. She hums softly, a hymn or memory. She once embroidered vestments for emperors, she says, and kissed the relic of St. Andrew. Now she watches the stars through broken arches and teaches young girls how to mend cloth. One girl asks her, "Will the city fall?" The nun smiles faintly. The stones fall, but not the light. The child doesn't understand, but she will. Eventually, now sleep comes. Let it come not with fear, but with stillness. Let the sounds of Constantinople cradle you, the hush of wind, the distant chant, the hush of a sea that remembers Rome. The drums have not yet begun. The cannon has not yet roared. But the breath before the storm is sacred, to sleep in it, rest in it. The city still stands. The queen of cities still dreams, and so do we. The sky did not fall all at once. It began with a tremor in the earth, so small it could have been a cart rumbling down a far-off road. Then a second, and then something else, something older than cannon, older than war. A silence that was, not peace, but waiting. It is April 6th, 1453. The siege begins, but let us not rush into noise. Let us first float down, softly, from the heavens, into the quiet hour, just before dawn. The stars are fading above Constantinople. The moon is a tired, silver coin pressed flat against the sky. Smoke from early hearths curls upward into the chill. Inside the walls the city breathes slowly, uncertainly, but still breathing. A bell rings in the distance, a soft, single chime, not an alarm, not yet, just the call to Matins morning prayer. In the church of St. Mary of the Mongols, an old priest kneels alone. He lights 3 candles, speaks 4 languages in his whispered invocation, and crosses himself so slowly it seems like he's tracing time itself. Outside, barefoot acolytes sweep the stone steps, brushing away leaves, dust, and dreams. Beyond the altar, beyond the mosaics, beyond the great bronze doors of the city's gates, they have arrived. The fields outside Constantinople are no longer green. They are tents and banners, trenches and timber. Campfires flicker like stars fall into earth, mirrored against the calm. Indifferent water of the Golden Horn, Mem's army, perhaps 80,000 men, maybe more, stretches like a living shadow. Across the horizon, they do not speak loudly. They do not chant yet, but they are there, and among them, positioned carefully, reverently, like an altarpiece of violence, sits Basilica, the great cannon coated in pitch-black bronze, oiled, muzzled, and patient. Let us stand near her now, but not too close, even in stillness. She carries tension, the potential of thunder packed into metal skin. Orban, the Hungarian, stands nearby, exhausted but proud. He's been up all night, checking the fuses, greasing the mount, adjusting the wooden ramp. His beard smells of smoke and sleep, but his eyes gleam like a man who has taught mountains how to speak. When dawn breaks, it is not with birdsong, it is with fire. The first shot is not clean. The cannon groans, complains, and then roars. Stone flies, earth shakes, trees flinch, and a chunk of wall, 10 feet high, 5 feet thick, crumbles like stale bread. The air goes still again. Even birds pause. Inside the city, it is as if the bones of Constantinople have been struck. The sound reverberates through aqueduct and vault, dome and stairwell. Dogs howl, children cry. The monks in Hagia Sophia fall silent. The candlemaker drops a jar of wax. Magda stops, stitching halfway through a cross. The emperor grips the windowsill of the palace with both hands. The siege has begun. But wait, let's not rush into collapse. The city does not fall in a day, and neither does its spirit. For every stone cracked, a prayer is whispered. For every crater in the wall, a shovel of earth fills it. Constantine XI calls his commanders, Greeks, Genoese, Venetian, to the walls. They move like nerves, responding to a wound, swift, determined, not broken. Giustiniani Longo commands the defense at the Mesetikian, the central point of the land walls, near the Lycus River valley. He's armored, bristling with chainmail and strategy. His 700 Genoese professionals, forming the iron spine of the resistance. They are calm, efficient, angry. This is their city now, too. From the battlements, the defenders watch as Ottoman engineers move siege towers closer, ladders, archers, tents bristling with spears, drummers keeping rhythm in a slow, relentless cadence, and above them all, from his tent embroidered in gold and green, Sultan Mehmed II watches with the gaze of someone, not hoping to win, but expecting to. He is not unkind, but he is absolute. His messengers bring word to the city: surrender, and live. The emperor sends his answer back, with no ornament, no. And so, the cannon fires again. It will fire every day, sometimes more than 10 times. Each time, the walls bleed dust. The defenders scurry like ants to patch, shore, prop with timbers, stack with barrels, drag fallen stone back into place. Women and children help. Priests carry water and pass arrows to archers. There are no spectators in a city under siege. Each breath is an act of defiance, and in the cracks between bombardments, Constantinople remembers how to be more than afraid. Lokos delivers candles to the defenders at night, threading narrow alleys and broken stone to bring light. Magda begins weaving strips of cloth into padded vests for the archers, crude but better than bearskin. The children no longer play in the hippodrome, but they gather bread, scraps, and carry messages for soldiers too weary to run. Even the cats change. They become leaner, sharper, fiercer, less imperial, and more feral. The city itself begins to reshape. Dirt is piled into streets to soften. Cannon blasts, wells are guarded like gold. The Hagia Sophia opens its doors daily for Mass, not just in Greek, but in Latin too. The schism cracks just slightly, under the weight of stone and fear, and still, the cannon fires, boom. Another section falls. Boom. A gate is splintered. But not all shots strike true. Some miss. Others sink into mud. Basilica, powerful though she is slow. Her barrel heats. Her wheels strain. The men must let her rest between shots, sometimes days. In those moments, those rare beautiful lulls, the city breathes, like now it is, a blue evening, lit only by cooking fires and the thin crescent of the moon. Smoke curls above every chimney. Somewhere in the monastery of studios, a monk plays a small lyre. A girl sings along, softly. Her voice trembles on the high notes, but the song holds. On the walls, an archer named Iosif leans back against a stone merlin. His hands shake. Not from fear, just from being alive too long without rest. Next to him, a Venetian soldier smokes a pipe and stares out at the Ottoman lines. Neither speaks the other's tongue, but they nod. A flicker of brotherhood, born of exhaustion and a shared enemy. In the cisterns below, where water runs like memory, the city murmurs to itself. Columns older than Charlemagne still hold. Cracks spiderweb across their surfaces, but they hold. Constantine the 11th prays alone in the palace. Chapel, he does not ask to win. He does not ask for mercy. He prays that the city will stand just a little longer, long enough to mean something. Let us leave him there for now, and return to the rooftops from above. Constantinople still shines, not with splendor, but with defiance. Each light, each echo of chant, each movement of tired hands, it all says the same thing. We are still here, and as you rest tonight, drifting down into sleep, remember, empires may crack, walls may fall, but faith, the kind that wraps around breath and bone, can hold for centuries. The siege has begun, but the soul of the city is not yet broken. Not tonight. Tonight, the Queen of Cities endures, and so shall we. Night no longer feels like safety. It used to, before the siege, before the cannon, before the endless echo of stone shattering against memory. The dark had once been a blanket. Now, it is a veil behind which ships move. But we'll return to that. For now, let's step softly into a new evening. One not marked by explosions, but by whispers. Listen, the city is whispering. Not loud, not urgent, but constant. The market whispers, half open, half abandoned. Merchants murmuring prices no one can afford. The churches whisper, their stones carrying prayers worn thin, with repetition. The walls whisper, groaning with age, with smoke, with the weight of too many boots running up and down their worn backs. Even the water whispers now, especially the water. Let us begin there. The golden horn is not gold tonight, it is black, silent, suspicious. The great chain still stretches across, its mouth, thick as a man's thigh, linked from tower to tower, holding the harbor shut like a clenched jaw. The defenders had trusted it, believed in it. But tonight, trust rusts like iron left too long in salt. Something has changed, and it began not with fanfare, but with the sound of logs, not hammers, not swords. Logs let drift upward, above Galata, that neutral Genoese, quarter across the water from the city, and look down upon a path of oiled wood, stretching over hills and valleys, winding down toward the water like a glistening scar. Upon this path, ships now move, not floating, rolling Ottoman galleys, disassembled and dragged, are being hauled over land. It is madness, it is brilliance, it is happening. Oxen grunt, chains strain. Men shout in Turkish and Albanian, heaving with ropes slick with sweat. Planks creak, wheels groan. The ships inch forward by torchlight, as if the very earth had agreed to let them pass. And pass they do. One by one, like wolves, slipping behind a gate, Mem's navy enters the Golden Horn, from behind the chain. The defenders watch, helpless. They had not expected this. No one had. From the Galata Tower, the Genoese do nothing. They had agreed to neutrality. But silence, in this hour, is a kind of complicity. Inside the city, the shock arrives like frost. Cold, creeping. It is April 22nd. The sky is soft gray, the air thick with tension. Constantine XI gathers his council. Giustiniani, the Venetian admiral Gabriele Treviso, the last of the Latin priests. A few weary commanders, with ash in their beards and prayers in their boots. Their maps are now frayed with fingerprints. Their plans are stained with old wine and candle wax. No one speaks first, because there is no clear solution. The Ottoman fleet now sails freely inside the Horn, protected by floating booms, firing on the seawalls from within the harbor, the very spot once thought safe. The chain was not broken, but it was outwitted. Cleverness, the emperor realizes, is a harder foe than cruelty. They begin to shift their troops. Cannons must now face two directions. Men are pulled from one wall to another. The siege tightens like a slow, patient knot. Still, the city does not fall. Let's walk through it, not as conquerors, not as ghosts, but as quiet witnesses to endure it. In the quarter of Samathia, where fish once flowed from docks to markets, now people fish not for trade, but for survival. The water brings few fish now, but still, they try. Nikos, once a tavern keeper, now casts his net each morning with fingers blistered and cracked. His son helps, though the boy coughs too much and sleeps too little. The tavern is boarded up, but the oven still works. On nights when the fish are few, Nikos still bakes flatbread, made with old flour, olive pits and prayer. He gives it to the guards on the wall. He gives it to the priest who visits his boy. He gives it to anyone who knocks, because sometimes bread is the loudest act of hope. In the church of St. John of Studius, the hymn continues. Even now, even as the walls shake, even as cannonballs thud into the soil, the choir is down to 6 voices, but they sing as if the heavens still listen. Elsewhere, in the city's underground cisterns, the water still runs, but more slowly. Murmured rumors echo through the stone chambers. Some say angels have been seen above the Hagia Sophia. Others say traitors walk among them, plotting to open the gates. Still others swear the Virgin herself will rise, sword in hand, to banish the invaders. None of it is confirmed, but the rumors are not lies. They are fuel, you see. Belief is not about accuracy. It is about endurance, and the city endures. Even as the walls crack, even as the food grows thin, even as cannon blasts shake the teeth in every mouth, even as more towers begin to lean, even as ships now swim behind them. The Ottoman drums now sound. Each morning before sunrise, they don't attack immediately, not yet, but the rhythm is enough. Boom, 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 a call to fear. A threat dressed as music. Children flinch in their sleep. Dogs whine. Old men mutter oaths, once spoken only in wartime, and still, each morning, the defenders climb the walls again. Still, always again. Let us pause now, just a moment. It's late in the siege. The night is clouded, the stars absent, the city breathless, but above the palace of Blosherny, on the northwestern corner of the wall, a soldier named Theodoros lights a lantern. He doesn't need to, it's not required, but his mother once told him that as long as there is light on the wall, the house still stands. So he lights it. He places it carefully on the highest turret. It flickers in the wind, but it stays across the city. Other guards see it. One by one, they raise their own. No, one speaks. But now, the walls glow, not with power, not with pride, but with defiance. The water betrayed them, but the stones remain. The people remain. The faith fragile, fractured remains. Now drift down, gently into the basilica, into the quarters, where sick children sleep. Into the alleyways where no one dares speak too loudly anymore. Into the dreams of a city surrounded, but not yet broken. Let the chant of distant monks wrap around you. Let the sound of waves tapping the hulls of ships fill your ears. Let the wind through broken arches carry the old names of the emperors, like lullabies, Justian, ... Basil ... Constantine ... Let them watch with you now, as the final weeks approach. Let them stand beside you, in the silence that follows cannon fire. Let your breath slow. Let your heartbeat join the city's. Still, here, still standing, still whispering. The siege tightens, but the soul of Constantinople is not yet surrendered, and neither are we. The moon watches the city like a mother losing a child she cannot reach. Night after night, she rises silver, steady, merciless, casting her gaze across crumbling battlements, hollow towers, broken fountains, still trying to sing. Beneath her, light, Constantinople lies curled in a kind of exhausted prayer. The siege has lasted for weeks now. 43 days of waiting. 43 nights of thunder. Every stone of the city has heard the voice of the cannon. Every alley has tasted ash. Every hand has blistered with labor, with mending, with lifting the wounded. And still, the city stands. Not untouched, not unscarred, but upright. Alive, let us return, now not as judges or chroniclers, but as the quiet breath between stories. Follow the rhythm. Let it carry you beyond the walls, into the folds of the final weeks, where every heartbeat feels like a drum struck in defiance. We begin again, at the wall. The Mesetikian, the middle stretch. It is the place most wounded, battered by cannon, softened by rain, held together with prayers and planks, sandbags and scaffolding. Here, the defenders gather each morning, like monks reporting to chapel. Giustiniani Longo commands this section, still gaunt now, lips cracked, mail rusted in, places from dried blood and sea air. His Genoese mercenaries look more like monks than warriors, dirty, hollow-eyed hands, never far from their hilts. Beside them, Greeks stand shoulder to shoulder, a fisherman who once sang lullabies to his daughter now mans a ballista, a stonemason who once carved crosses for shrines, now sharpens iron bolts. A young boy, just 15, helps carry powder from cellar to rampart, flinching only slightly when the cannon fires again. It is not bravery, not really. It is familiarity. The blast no longer surprises. The crumbling stone no longer shocks. Only one thing still freezes the blood. Silence. When the cannon goes still for hours, they know Memde is preparing something else, and this morning silence hangs heavy, thick as smoke, thin as thread. Then, drums, boom, 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 boom. The rhythm of assault, not bombardment now, not distance. This is the drumbeat of closeness. The soldiers lean over the walls, and from the mists below, they begin to rise. Ladders, hundreds of them, carried by men in waves. Wave after wave after wave. Janissaries, Sipahi, Delhi cavalry, who have dismounted and joined the push, faces painted, eyes wild. Shields up, blades ready, and those ladders tall, thick, made of Anatolian oak, iron-spiked at the base. Gripped by hands blistered from weeks of siege, due to beg and to rise, like crooked fingers reaching toward heaven. The alarm bells cry across the city, and this time, it is not a drill. From tower to tower, horns sound to the walls, to the gates. The city floods toward its edges, not fleeing. Fighting women bring water, arrows, spare bowstrings. Old men with bandaged legs lean from parapets, dropping stones onto helmets below. Priests swing censers, not for worship, but to cloud the air with smoke so the archers can see. The sky splits with shouting. Giustiniani's voice, hoarse, cracks across the battlements. Hold the middle, push the ladders. No mercy. And the first wave hits. Iron against stone, boots against steps, blades clashing. where words once prayed. Let's pause here for a moment, just enough to look into the eyes of one defender, Theodoros, the same soldier who lit the lantern in part 5. He is at the wall again. His hands are bleeding, his sword is notched, his breastplate is dented, where a spear found him 2 days earlier, but he stands, because that is what the city asks, and as the first ladder crests the battlement, and a janissary swings a curved blade down toward him, Theodoros meets it not with hatred, but duty. Steel rings, flesh parts, a scream rises, and is swallowed by the chaos, and the ladder falls. But another climbs in its place, and another ladder. Warfare is not glorious, it is tight, close, terrifying, hands grappled before blades, helmets crack open like eggs, men fall, and fall, and fall again, some screaming, some silent, into the mist below. Blood slicks the stones, voices crack in every tongue, Turkish, Greek, Latin, Armenian, Hungarian. But the language of death is the same. Still, the wall holds for hours. The sun climbs, the bodies pile, the ladders rise faster than they fall, but they still fall, because the defenders do not break. Because Magda, from behind the lines, still weaves cloth into bandages, and shoves them into the hands of every runner she sees. Because Locus now pours oil into old clay pots, lights them, and sends them arcing over the walls in firebursts of resistance. Because the city has not yet forgotten who it was. Down at the harbor, the sea walls flare into motion to memmed ships. Now, within the Horn, pound the defenses from the waterline. Trevisano's Venetians respond, launching counterfire, pulling chains taut, boarding from behind shattered docks. The great chain may have been bypassed, but not surrendered. A few brave Greek swimmers, under cover of smoke, lash boats, together with ropes, and fire the sails to make floating barricades. From the dome of Hagia Sophia, you can almost see the entire madness unfold. Land, sea, fire, ladders, blood, but inside, the monks still chant, beds the hour of evening prayer. As swords clang against shields, and cannon smoke chokes the lungs of archers on the south tower. A quiet line of children and nuns kneels beside the altar. They sing softly, they do not cry. They sing, because some walls are not made of stone. Evening falls, the attack slows, not stops, never stops, but slows. Ladders fall more than they rise now. Janissaries retreat to drink and regroup. The cannon prepares to speak again by morning, but for now, the sky bruises into purple, and the moon returns. She sees the blood, she sees the courage, she sees the dead. She sees the city still standing, and so do we. Let us walk through the aftermath. Let your steps fall soft. Let your breath match the rhythm of wounded lungs. Let the streets guide. A boy with a wrapped leg carries arrows in a sack. Girl barely 12 ladles broth into cracked wooden bowls. Priest absolves a dying man in Latin and kisses his forehead. A cat licks blood from a fallen banner. The city reknits itself, even as it bleeds. At the palace, Constantine the 11th removes his armor. He has fought today, not in ceremony, but in truth. He struck a ladder down himself. He cradled a dying boy who called him father before he passed. Now, he kneels before the icon of the Virgin. He does not pray for victory, only for time. One more day, one more sunrise, one more hour to keep the heart beating. And then, late into the night, from the old watchtower at the gate of Carisius, a soldier blows his horn, a low, trembling sound, not warning, not triumph, but mourning. They have found the body of a runner, one of their own, bearing a message scrawled in red wax. A great assault will come, a final one soon. So the city prepares. The ladders will come again. The cannon will fire. The ships will push. The voices will rise. But not tonight. Tonight, the city breathes. Bandages are washed. Walls are patched. Bread is broken. The Virgin's icon is carried through the streets, veiled in violet silk, and every window lights a candle as she passes. Even the cats pause to watch. Even the rats sit still. Let us end this part here, not with fire, but with stillness. The storm will return, but so will the rhythm. so will the breath, so will the whisper that says, we are not gone. We are not yet history. We are not yet Ashdod. Not yet. Not tonight. Sleep now, with the sound of wind through stone. Sleep with the image of the city, tired, tattered, triumphant, waiting for one more day. Before the world breaks, there is always quiet. A long, strange quiet. The kind that feels like a held breath. Like the hush before thunder. Like a mother's silence when she knows what must be said and cannot bear to say it. This is the silence that wakes Constantinople on May 28, 1453. It is not a silence of peace, it is the silence of ending. The birds are quiet. Even the seagulls that used to squabble over fish heads near the harbors sit perched and still, their wings tucked tight, their heads turned inland. The breeze is soft, too soft. It carries no cannon smoke this morning. No fire, no drumbeat, only stillness. And yet the city knows. They are coming, not yet, but soon. This is the breath before the scream. Let us walk the streets slowly now, gently, step by step, as the city wakes to what might be its last full day. In the hippodrome, wild grass grows between the stones. Children once played here. Crowds once roared. Chariots raced in circles until time gave up chasing them. Today, only a handful of men stand here. Veterans, old soldiers, with half-healed wounds and stories in their eyes. They lean on spears like crutches. They do not speak, but they wait, in the church of St. Theodosia. Flowers still hang. They were placed there, in the night, by the women of the neighborhood, a tradition older than conquest, older than empire, a last act of beauty before ruin. Petals drift across the stone floors like the first notes of a funeral. No priest stops them. No one dares sweep them away. In a small courtyard near the Blashany Palace, a man named Andreas kneels with his daughter. He ties her shoe. It takes longer than usual. His hands are shaking. She is only 8. Her doll, handmade and half missing an eye, is tucked into her cloak. She doesn't understand why he won't look at her when he hugs her, only that he holds her too long. She doesn't cry. She just says, "Papa, your armor smells like the fish market." And he laughs, and it sounds too much like a sob. In the underground cisterns, water laps softly. Magda, our cloth weaver, kneels at the edge of one of the pools. She dips her hands. They are red, not with blood, but with dye. She is still making bandages, still folding them into clean baskets, because someone must, because someone will need them, because stopping is the same as surrender, and she is not ready. The emperor is ready. Constantine, 11 Dragis's Palaiologos, rises from prayer that morning with calm in his face and steel in his spine. He dons his armor piece by piece, not like a king, but like a soldier. Over chainmail he straps bronze-plated gauntlets. Over his heart, a plate, etched with a faded double-headed eagle, a faded crest. His sword is old, scratched. Balanced, it feels right in his hand. By the time the sun has climbed above the haze, he has walked the length of the walls himself, greeting every battlement, every tower, every man who can still hold a spear. "Brothers," he says. "Not citizens, not Greeks, not Latins, not mercenaries, just brothers. You know why you are here. You know what stands behind us. You know that there will be no rescue." He does not speak of angels. He does not speak of miracles, only of walls and blood and duty. Then he smiles, a tired, proud, terribly human smile. "I thank you." The troops cheer. Not loudly, but they cheer, because it is better to die with a name than to vanish nameless in silence. That night, as the city holds its breath, something ancient unfolds. The final Mass in Hagia Sophia. Let us enter slowly. This is not a church tonight. This is a memory made flesh. The candles are already lit, dozens, hundreds, each. Flame flickers against gold, mosaics dulled by soot, by age, by smoke from 1,000 sieges past. No one is turned away tonight. Not the Catholics who kneel awkwardly beside the Greek monks. Not the children who've never heard Latin before. Not the soldiers who do not understand the words, but understand. The weight. The nave is full. The balconies. The aisles. The back steps. People kneel shoulder to shoulder. Citizens, soldiers, nuns, beggars. They pray not for victory, but for peace. Peace in memory. Peace in defeat. Peace in legacy. And above them, the choir sings, Kyrie, eleison, Lord, have mercy. There. Voices rise, and for a moment, the world beyond the city disappears. Outside, the moon is still watching, and now the drums begin again, soft at first, like a heartbeat, boom, then louder, boom, boom. Then again, boom, boom, boom. They do not stop. From his command tent, Sultan Mehmed II listens. He wears no armor yet, only his robes. He sits at a low table, running his fingers over a map he knows by heart. He has waited for this moment, prepared. For this moment, sacrificed, lied, bargained, promised for this moment. He whispers a prayer too. Allah, not for death, not for slaughter, but for clarity. Then he stands, orders are given, torches lit, thousands of men rise. It is time, in the final hours before dawn, the drums become thunder. The moon lowers, the city stiffens. Every wall lined, every gate watched, from the harbor. Flames flicker on the water, Mehmed's fleet creeps forward. Siege towers roll into position. The cannon basilica is reloaded for one last great roar. And the city watches. All of it. Let us stand now, beside Giustiniani at the Mesatikian. He tightens the strap on his breastplate. His eyes are red, not from tears, from smoke, from lack of sleep. He looks out over the enemy formations and sees torches stretching to the horizon. It is not an army, it is a tide, but tides, he reminds himself, can be resisted. At the Carisius gate, Theodoros stands. The lantern he once lit now hangs unlit. Not because hope has died, because light is no longer needed to remember. In the harbor quarter, Trevisano's ships lock into formation. He grips the tiller of his galley and recites a psalm through gritted teeth, and, from the upper dome of Hagia Sophia, the last light of the city flickers inside. The choir sings still, their voices rising into the night like a curtain, drawn over the world. Then comes the final silence. No drums now, no chants, just one breath, one moment, then the sky explodes. The final assault begins. Cannon fire splits the morning. The ground trembles as if the bones of the earth are breaking. Ladders rise again. Siege towers roll forward, iron-tipped and roaring with men. The first wave hits the walls, then the second, then the third. Giustiniani fights like a man with fire in his lungs. He cuts, he blocks, he shouts. Then suddenly a wound. A musket ball tears into his side. He gasps. The defenders see it. Panic ripples. He does not scream. He only says, "Don't tell them I've fallen." But it's too late. The Genoese carry him back. The defenders hesitate, and at that hesitation, the breach opens from the harbor. Ottoman ships unleash fire on the sea walls. The chain holds, but the gates tremble. The defenders throw oil, fire, bricks. Everything. But the tide has turned. Constantine XI stands at the St. Romanus gate. He fights like a man who has already written his death in the stone. They say he cried, "The city has fallen, and I am still alive." They say he tore the insignia from his armor, so no one would know he was emperor. They say he died, sword in hand, beside his men. But no one knows. The truth is now dust, by mid-morning. The gates are open. The Ottomans flood in. The city screams. Some run, some pray, some fall. But the story does not end there. Not yet. Because even as the banners rise over towers, even as flames curl through palaces, even as history shifts its weight, a whisper remains. Not a wall, not a sword. A whisper. In the cistern, in the echo of hymns, in the eyes of a girl clutching a doll and staring into a future no one can name. In the final spark of a candle left flickering beside the icon of the Virgin. It is not victory. It is not survival. It is remembrance. The Queen of Cities has fallen. But she will never be gone, because stone can break, but but whispers endure. Let us begin where all endings live. In the quiet, after the fire, after the scream, after the sword stops singing and the earth lies still, smelling of iron and ashdot. This is where we begin now, where Constantinople sleeps. The dawn after the fall is not golden dot. It is gray, the kind of gray that swallows light, that steals shape from the world, the kind of gray that settles into the lungs of survivors and whispers. This is what silence tastes like. There are no bells today, no hymns, no market cries, no street chants from the vendors, who once called figs and lemons and fresh bread. Only smoke, only ash, only the sound of bare feet stepping over shattered mosaics and weeping in languages older than the siege. We walk, not as tourists, not as mourners, but as witnesses. Hold your breath as we step through the broken gates. They hang like bent arms, trying to welcome a world that no longer exists. Beyond them, the Queen of Cities lies, like a fallen saint, still, naked, beautiful. Even now, here, a boy climbs over a collapsed arch. His shoes are gone. He picks through rubble for a doll, not for himself, but for his sister, whose hand he still holds, though she no longer moves. He does not speak, he does not cry, only holds. On here, the library near the Forum of Constantine, its scrolls, half-burned, fluttering in the wind like wounded birds. A page lands at your feet. It reads, "Even the strong must weep." But from their tears, the rivers learn to run. The ink smudged, but still legible. Words survived. They always do. In the harbor quarter, ships groan in foreign tongues. The Ottoman banners now rise from towers, where the double-headed eagle once flew. Some tear them down, others kneel before them. Most just stare, hollow-eyed, and wait for the sky to speak. Let us climb now through rubble, through smoke, to the dome of Hagia Sophia. The sanctuary is open, not desecrated. Not yet, only quiet. Beneath its massive vaults, a handful of women sit on the floor. They have not fled, they do not run. They sing softly, the same hymn, as the final night. Kyrie, eleison, Lord, have mercy. The echo floats up, lost in space too vast for conquest. It drifts like dust, it settles into stone, it stays, and now, the conqueror, Sultan Mehmed, the second enters the city at midday. Not with trumpet, not with trumpet, with step slow, even reverent. He does not smile. He is 20-1, and has become more than a king, more than a name. He is a turning point. He rides past the broken gates, past corpses, past prayers. He halts before Hagia Sophia, dismounts, and kneels. He takes a handful of earth, rubs it into his palm, and whispers something no one records. Some say it was a surah. Some say it was a poem. Some say he said nothing at all, only cried then. In silence, he enters the church. He does not destroy it. He does not loot it. He simply claims it, and so, the greatest cathedral of the Christian East becomes the first mosque of the Ottoman West. No angels fall from the walls. No saints scream. Only the wind sings. Everything changes. But memory remains. Later, Mehmed walks through the ruins. He sees the shattered statues, the broken aqueducts, the blood-stained marble. He pauses atop a fallen column and recites aloud. The spider weaves its web in the palace of kings. The owl hoots in the halls where emperors once sat. A Persian verse, a lament, not a boast, in the days that follow. The city does not disappear. It shifts, it shudders, it learns a new name, Istanbul, though some still whisper the old one in there. Sleep, markets reopen. Mosques rise where churches once stood. Minarets bloom beside broken domes. The call to prayer echoes where bells once rang. But underneath it all, beneath the stone and fire and time, whispers remain in the cistern. Water still laps. A girl kneels there now, not Magda, but her granddaughter. She washes cloths. She sings softly, the melody, the same it survived. It was never written, but it lives in the silence of a collapsed tower. A boy finds a lantern, Theodoros lantern. He lights it, hangs it in the window. No one tells him why, only that it feels right. And in the library, what is left of it, a priest returns. He gathers what books he can, hides them in clay jars, buries them in cool stone. He is old, he does not expect to see them again, but someone will, somewhere one day. So let us speak now, you and I, not of what was lost, but of what endured, not of empire, not of walls, not of gold, or banners, or saints, whose names are now half remembered, but of rhythm, of heartbeat, of breath, of hands lighting candles. Even when there's nothing left to see by, the queen of cities has fallen, but some queens rule best in memory. Some cities live in the minds of poets and the tears of grandmothers. Some empires are remembered not for how they ended, but for what they inspired. So sleep now, beneath the hush of ancient streets, rest, where stone remembers names long faded. Close your eyes to the world that spins forward, because behind you something sacred still whispers. I was here, I stood, I fell, I remain.